In this video, I'm going to be going through the My Saved Hands and My Saved Sessions pages on omahapokertraining.com. Now, every hand of PLO that you play on our site is saved permanently to your own personal online database. It's for your eyes only, but you have access to every hand you've ever played. So on these pages here, you're going to be able to go through your database, find hands you're looking for. Maybe you're looking for certain trouble hands. You can watch a video replay of any hand you've ever played. You can retry any hand you've ever played. Maybe you want to test out a different strategy. And so many more options. Let's jump right into it now and take a look at these pages. Okay, so we're going to look first at the My Saved Hands page. The first thing you see here at the top are a bunch of statistics. Now in this video, I don't want to take the time to go too in depth into each one of these statistics, but you see there's a little question mark next to each of them here, and if you hover over that, it'll tell you a little bit more about that statistic. And so I'm going to let you read those on your own. Some of you more advanced players are probably already familiar with these. VPIP is voluntary put in pot. It means how often did you play a hand pre-flop and voluntarily put any money in, meaning it doesn't count if you just were forced to put money in the big blind. It's when you voluntarily put money in. Your aggression factor over here is a measure of how aggressive you are post-flop. It's a ratio measure of how often you bet or raised versus how often you just called. And there's some more here, how often you c-bet, how often you defended against a steal attempt, and of course the big blinds you've won per 100 hands and the chips you've won per 100 hands. Now all these statistics up here are affected by what hands you're actually selecting below using these filters. Now there's a lot of filters here, but you can use these filters to pick certain hands you want to look at and then go back up and look at your statistics and see how well you did with the hands that fit these filters here. So I'm going to go through these filters real quick here, at least most of them. We've got hands with randomly dealt cards. What that means is if you only want to see hands where you did not, as you remember in the poker game, you can set the game up to only deal you playable hands or only deal you hands from a particular category. This would select only hands where your 4 cards and all your opponent's cards were determined randomly. Hands where you did not freeze the button. Again, freezing the button means you set it so that you were always dealt under the gun or always dealt on the button, always dealt in the small blind or big blind. These would be hands that you did not freeze the button on if you check that box. Complete hands. Now, a complete hand means a hand where you did not fold and use the zip to end feature. By default, OPT is set up so that whenever you fold, you immediately get taken into the next hand, and you don't have to watch the hand play out among your virtual opponents. So if a complete hand is a hand where you did either unchecked the zip to end button, or it means you went to the showdown, or maybe you made a bet and all your opponents folded. Anytime you folded and the zip to end feature was on, that would not be a complete hand because we cut the hand off at that point and we don't watch your opponents play the rest of the hand out. Hands where you did not peek at your opponent's cards, self-explanatory. As you know, in the game you can click on your opponent's cards and peek at them. If you only wanted to see hands where you did not peek at your opponent's cards, you could check this box here. And you could also want to see hands where you raised pre-flop, hands where you at least went to a particular street. Maybe you want to look at all the hands where you went to the river, all the hands where you went to the showdown. And finally, hands where you were all in. That's kind of self-explanatory. And there's a bunch more drop-downs down here if you only want to see hands from a certain game type, like 9-max or 6-max, hands where the blinds were something like 2-5 or 1-2, hands where you were playing at a particular table. On OPT, the table you pick determines the difficulty level, so maybe you only want to look at hands you had played at the highest difficulty level. You can look at hands just from a particular position, or hands that you had tagged, which is a way of categorizing hands, and I'll talk about that more in another video. And then below that, you could also look at hands from a particular date range or hands where your profit was in a certain range in dollars. So you set up all these filters and then you hit the submit button, and again your statistics up at the top there are going to update, and all the hands displayed below are only going to be the hands that fit those filters you set up above. So I'm going to look at each row of this table down below and show you what the different options are here. First, there's a checkbox here that says that you can select certain hands, and when you go to the bottom of the screen, you'll see that you can delete those hands from your database, or if you wanted to replay, let's say you selected 10 particular hands, you wanted to watch a replay of all those hands as one unit, you could use this replay button down at the bottom. But going across here let's look at this first hand here. So the next column is called tag. Now again, a tag is a category. You might have already put some hands into a category while you were playing the poker game. If not, you can click on the tag here. You can actually add a tag at this point. So if there was a particular hand you wanted to mark it for later, put it into a category, you just click on tag here, and I'll say, I'm going to pick a new tag here, and I'm going to say, go over with my coach. I'm going to mark that, put it in that category for hands I want to go over later with my coach. Since the tag is just a category, the note is more of a free form place to enter as much details as you want. So in here you could type in the reason you wanted to go over this hand, let's say, for example, and you could talk about what you think you did wrong, and then you could that would help you to remember later when you go over it with a friend or your coach or whoever. So there's two buttons you'll see next. There's a view and a retry button. The view button just lets you watch a replay, a video replay of any hand you've ever played. So we could click it here for this particular hand. You'll see you get a pop-up and the hand comes up and it starts showing us a replay of the hand. The retry button is if you actually want to retry the hand again, meaning you want to jump right back into the hand and try out a different strategy and see if a different strategy works out better for you. Okay, and then I think the rest of the columns are pretty self-explanatory. It shows what table you played at, what hand you had, what the board cards were, how many players were at the table, what position you were at, what the big blind was, your profit for the hand, either positive or negative, and the date and time the hand was played. And you'll notice at the top of each one of these columns here, there's some little arrows. And you can use that to sort by just about any column you want to sort by here. So let's suppose I want to sort by profit, so I can look at the hands where I lost the most chips. So I've already entered some filters up above, and now I want to look at the hands that I lost the most chips, so I can watch a replay of those hands and try to figure out what I did wrong. That would be an example use here. So as you can see, there's a lot you can do with this page, and again, your hands are saved forever. So as you've been playing for a long time on OPT, as you have thousands and tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of hands, this can be really useful to go back into and look for long-term trends and particular hand types you're having trouble with. So really quickly, I'm going to jump over to the sessions page here, my saved sessions. And I'm not going to spend a ton of time here because, as you see, it's almost identical, other than there's a couple extra buttons. But again, you've got your statistics up here at the top. It's the same statistics, and you've got most of the same filters, only there's a fewer filters here because some of them don't apply to sessions as well as they apply to individual hands. But same kind of options down here at the bottom. You can select various sessions and delete them from your database if you wanted to. You can watch a replay of different sessions. You can use this list button here to list all the hands in a session and go over them individually. You can even use this results button to see your session report again. And you can sort by any column just like before if you want to look at your worst or your best sessions you've had over a certain date range, things like that. So I think that's about all I have to say about this part. There's many other videos to watch here, so hope you're enjoying these videos, and I'll talk to you in the next one.